So welcome back to our podcast where we talk about different things regarding sales conversations. And I'm here with my friend, Greg DeMarco. Say hello, Greg.
Say hello, Greg.
There you go.
There.
And one of the things that I think salespeople need to be aware of is how do they stay top of mind in their clients' eyes? I mean, I don't know that I know a salesperson, particularly a realtor, that can't tell a story of a time when someone that they thought was their client or thought was going to do some business with them, but they didn't. You know, they drove by the house where their friend lives and they kept on saying, I should stop in and see that guy. I should stop in and see that guy. And then they didn't do it. And then a week later, they drive by again and they say, I should stop in and see that guy. And then still didn't do it. And then they drive by again another week later and they see somebody else's for sale sign on the front lawn. And unfortunately, that's not as uncommon as we might like to think, particularly with my clients. I mean, everybody wants to think that their clients are loyal and that they're always going to do business with them. But we have to do our part as well. So why don't you start us off in talking about how to stay top of mind in your client's eyes and what the benefits of that are?
Well, it's a really important topic, I think, because that's happened to me as well, where I was working with somebody and lo and behold, they either bought a boat from someone else or you just, for some reason, that didn't happen. And there's a few reasons for that, I think. But I think that basically we have to stay relevant in their eyes. And I think what happens a lot of the times, Don, is it's what I call becoming too much of a friend and not paying attention to you're there for a reason. Yes, you can make great rapport with them, connect with them, but the problem is sometimes we get carried away with becoming so friendly that we forget what our main priority is, which is to help them get what they need, which is like list their house or sell their house or buy a house. And I think that happens, but staying top of mind with them is important for a lot of reasons. One, we have to show them that we have authority and we're an expert in what it is we're doing to help them, because in the end, they want a result from us, right? They want some kind of a result. And if we're talking and just trying to build rapport and there's nothing else going on other than, finding out what's happening with the family or, talking about your favorite sports team, that's not getting them closer to their goal. And I think that's what happens. And we've talked about this in other episodes where we talk about how much a rapport we're building, but at the same time, how much are we helping them get closer to their goals? And I think that's what happens. And to stay top of mind, we have to be relevant to them, which means we're helping them and we're getting them closer to what it is they're trying to do. And if we're not asking the right questions, we're not going to get any closer. We have to be authentically ourselves.
Yeah. There's different things to look at it. And I think sometimes we as salespeople, we can get wrapped up in making sure that we have the right picture of ourselves. We can get wrapped up in thinking that we need to have the right logo, we need to have the right colors and all that kind of stuff. And those things are important. And I think that Mike Kim he has a book out called You Are the Brand. It's a really good book, and it's a really good book on how to build your brand. And I would recommend everybody, if they're interested in building their brand, that they should get it. But being top of mind, I think, is still a little bit different than building a brand. Building a brand is part of being top of mind, but in my view. But how do we make sure that we're top of mind? Because that makes a difference. If they're in real estate, it makes a difference, because if I'm talking to my client, I want them to recognize that I'm there for all their real estate needs. I don't want to just be their friend, as you mentioned. Although I think it's important for me to be their friend first,
Yep.
Because
to build trust and rapport. Yeah.
Yeah. Nobody wants to, I never wanted to be that guy that everybody walked around, like, oh, there's Don, don't, let's
Yeah.
let's let's not. There's Don. He's going to talk about real estate. Let's go. I never wanted to be that guy, but I think you can go too far the other way. Where
Yeah.
and that can be dangerous. But
Well,
so
I remember this one time when I was at a boat show and I was sales manager of this yacht company, and there was a fishing line of boats right beside us. And here's a perfect example of that. The salesman was talking to this guy and they were talking about fishing, but that's all they were talking about. And I was listening and sort of standing over the side of the boat, listening to the conversation. And that guy talked himself in and out and in and out of a sale like 8 times, but he wasn't talking about selling a boat. He was talking about how great fishing was and how they enjoyed it. That guy had left. And then the next day I heard him talking to one of his colleagues, and he said, I saw that guy writing a deal for a boat at our competitors. And the reason is because he never, ever once talked to him about what the guy wanted to buy for a fishing boat. He just talked about how great fishing was. And that's what happened. So he never really showed the guy his expertise. They could be great friends and go fishing, but
right,
he's not going to buy a boat from him,
right.
which is
So,
sad.
yeah. So we've identified that there can be a problem in making sure that you remain top of mind with your client. So how would you go about doing that? How would you go about, like, say I'm a new salesperson and I, how would you recommend that I stay top of mind with my friends and clients?
Well, first and foremost, Don, I'm always authentically me. Like I just put out what I am. And the most important thing is the questions that I've asked at the beginning when we've met is always about them, what they want, what their desires are, and making that connection with them. And that's the most important part, because I found, and I, a lot of salespeople out there listening to this probably won't agree, but most of the salespeople that I've seen, they don't build any kind of rapport or connection with their prospects, or certainly not enough to get to the point where they're top of mind. Because I always found, I did a survey once with my clients and asked them why they deal with me. And one of the biggest points that came back was, you stood out. You cared about us. You showed that we could trust you. Your level of expertise was very high, but it was the trust thing that kept coming back. And it's because of how I built rapport with them. That's how I stood out. It wasn't that I was wearing a bow tie or a fedora or some other, accessory. It was because I was just me, and I was friendly, and I smiled, and I showed enthusiasm, and I was passionate about what I wanted. But most importantly, I wanted to find out what was happening with them and why they were there. Why are you here talking to me? Why did you come to me to buy a boat or buy a house or do this? And those were the reasons that stood out to me in a sea of surveys that I did, that's why they were talking to me. And I think that's important.
Yeah, that a lot of times people don't want to survey their clients.
I know. Well, who does, in case somebody comes back and says, I don't like you?
Yeah.
That sort of rejection thing.
Yeah.
But you have to.
Yeah.
So
be authentic, and is what you're suggesting, that is one of the important ways of remaining top of mind. How about staying in contact with them? Like in real estate, it's important for us to stay in contact with our clients. I don't know about you, but maybe I get a little bit jaded about staying in contact with my clients, because I don't want to come across as what I perceive some of the people that come into my inbox. I mean, I don't want to, some people are really irritating on how often they come into my inbox in my email. And that doesn't put them top of mind in my mind. It might put them top of mind, but it might just put them top of mind saying, I don't want to deal with that guy. They're kind of being annoying, like every day, couple times a day is too much, but what would be a regular, staying in contact with your clients? How often would you think that you would do that? or is that a subjective thing and dependent on your industry?
No, I think you're talking about after sale sort of contact. And when I first sell something to a client, like especially if I was in the boating business like I was, I would contact them after delivery and a week after, just to see how they enjoyed their experience. Then usually after that, I would stay in touch with clients once a month. Usually I would try and just send them a note saying, "Hey, I just want to thank you again for your purchase," or whatever, say the second or third time. And, I just want to reach out and maybe give them a tip about something, hey, I found this with this boat is the best way to handle tubing or whatever it was. And I give them some kind of something like that. And once a month, usually, something, get them into a newsletter or something that I could say, stay top of mind with. With prospects, when I was working with prospects, as you know, and I know you know this, whenever I talk to them with a prospect, I would never leave a conversation without first finding out when our next contact was going to be, and not only when it was going to be, what time, what day. Like, I would nail it down, like, I'll follow up, and then you've got to follow up. And there's a reason for your follow up. It's not just to ask them for business. There's a reason for it. You're having a conversation. So this was agreed to. How would you like to follow up? We talked about this. Follow up in 2 days, 3 days after the weekend. How do you do it? So there was always an end to the conversation. Was, okay, what's our next steps? That's critical, I think.
When you talk about never leaving the conversation without having an appointment or knowing when you're going to follow up again, it was reminding me of the gentleman was a sort of a friend of mine, and he was a president of a small college here in our town. And one of his roles as president was to do fundraising. So as an owner of a real estate office, everybody thinks real estate offices make buckets full of money, which they can, and then sometimes they don't. So that'd be a whole other topic that we won't get into. But he would he would take me out for lunch, and then he'd talk about the different projects they would have in the area, and would I be interested in participating. So I did on occasion. We did, obviously we like to give back to the community, but sometimes I said, that wasn't going to suit, that I would maybe, and I didn't want to hurt his feelings. So I would just kind of, try to delay, I'd say, well, this doesn't work for us at this time, maybe in a couple months. And then he immediately would take out his diary or his calendar. And then he'd say, when, you say a couple months, Don, would that be in April or June or whatever the month was. So, yeah. And then, you could bet that he called me back. There was no question in my mind that he was going to call me back. So after a while, you started to expect it. I used to, get a little bit of a kick out of it, but, he was consistent. And I think he did a very good job, for his college, in getting, in raising funds and stuff like that. But, and fundraising, I think, has got to be it's basically a sales job, right? So raising funds, but that's got to be one of the hardest types of jobs, to do. So you have to have the right process. You have to have the right, I think, mentality to be a good fundraiser. But yeah, what else can we do to stay top of mind for our clients?
Well, I think you just nailed it. Consistency is key. Consistency is key to everything. There's that story you just told about the guy who you knew was going to call back and stuff. That's sort of the same with me, but I think there's a thin line that you have to walk with that, because depending on, is it you building rapport and then trying to further the deal or whatever it is you're trying to accomplish, or are you being a pest? You know what I mean? Because if you're doing it like with a prospect, right at the beginning, I would follow up every other kind of day until I got the sense that either this guy isn't going to buy or he just needs a little more attention. And you have to have a very disciplined mind and understanding where that's drawn, right? Because you could be pushing them away. So, but consistency is key. Like it's king. The more consistent you are and the more, I guess, predictable in nature. Like, so if somebody said, like in the yacht business, when I sold yachts, that was key, really. Those guys want to know you're calling them back. They're those types of people. I mean, they're going to spend a million, 2, 3, 10, 20 million on a yacht. When you say you're going to call, if you don't call, you're done. You're toast. It's just not going to happen. Right?
Yeah, you have to do what you say you're going to do.
Yeah.
So we got two kinds of follow-up, or two kinds of staying top of mind. And one would be when you're in the process of a sale. So you're staying, how do you stay top of mind or stay in contact with your prospect? And then there's the other kind of staying top of mind, and that would be staying in contact with your, let's call them the database, or your in for old guys like you and me, we used to call it our book of business, right?
Yep.
Yeah. But staying top of mind with your clients, who's somebody that you have done business with in the past, you still want to stay in touch with them. So I know in real estate that staying in touch with those clients is key to your success, because if you do it properly, your clients are happy to give you referrals. Mm-hmm. And so, when you're in the moment dealing with a sale, you want to stay in touch with your client so that when they actually do pull the trigger and come out and buy, that they come and buy from you. And the other thing is that, but the long-term ones, you don't know when they're going to meet up with somebody that says, hey, I was thinking of buying a yacht, or I was thinking of I'm thinking of moving, and what you want them to say is, hey, give my friend Don a call, if you want to buy a house, or if you want to sell your house. He's been doing that for a long time, or whatever they say. You want them to think of you and pass your name on. I would expect that would have been the same thing in the yacht sales, that you had been looking for referrals.
Yeah, because they know other people in their circles, right, that are buying yachts. And in that world, they all want to keep up with the Joneses. So, like, so buddy's got a new yacht, hey, you'll want one too. But I mean, it's not like you're selling 20 yachts a year. It just doesn't happen that way.
Yeah.
So
the other thing is, though, that what you have to be aware of is that when they give your name to somebody, they want to have absolute confidence that you're going to look after that person.
That's right. And as far as I'm concerned, it doesn't matter if you're selling widgets, cars, boats, houses, yachts, or furniture. You want your clients to make sure that you are trusted, and that if they want to give a referral, they know that you'll take care of those people, because they're their friends. They don't want to look bad.
No, absolutely.
So it doesn't matter what you're selling. You've got to come off professionally no matter what, and that you are the type of person that does what you say you're going to do. That's critical.
So staying in regular contact with your clients then would be an important thing to do. And I think offering them additional value to what your original sale was. And then you think, okay, well, what can I offer as value?
Yeah, it is. That's exactly what it is. What value are you giving them? So that's why I'd mentioned, when I stay in touch with my clients, I would send out like once a month or something, get them in the newsletter, or the thing that I would give them in tips is something I produced, not what the company produced. It was something I produced myself. And, occasionally now the company would do client appreciation stuff, and I would definitely invite all my clients to that, always. But sometimes I would do something where I would show up, take them to lunch, do something with them. Or you can another idea is creating some kind of an event for them that you can do yourself. And you get all your clients together in one place. And that becomes something pretty special for them, because now they know each other. and then your circle starts to expand out. And those are really good. I wouldn't throw more than maybe one a year, that kind of thing, or maybe twice, depending on what it was, but because it can get expensive, right? But you should consider doing something like that.
My one of the gurus in real estate, I call him. He's one of my favorites. Is Brian Buffini. So he basically says, you need to remember 6 things. He says you need to work on your habits, your attitude, and your skills, and you need to do calls, notes, and pop-bys. And you do those 6 things every day, and you'll be good. And the calls, notes, and pop-bys are how you stay in touch with your clients and remain top of mind in their books. He also talks about doing client parties, which is an excellent way to do it as well. But I think we need to remember those 6 things, no matter what type of sales we're in.
Yep.
Is, working on your habits, your attitude, and your skills, and then doing calls, notes, and pop-bys. Now, your 3 things that you do may be a little bit different than the calls, notes, and pop-bys, but, figure out what your 3 things are that work for you, and that do them on a consistent basis, and then, you should be good.
Those are great. Those are 6 great things that he talks about. And I think you're right. Everybody's slightly different. Those are a great basis for you to start with, though, especially in your industry. But in the end, the most important thing is knowing yourself and what works best for you.
Yep.
And you and I have talked about this in the past in other episodes where your skill set is slightly different than somebody else's. So doing cold calls may not be a good thing for you, but doing something else is a better way for you to do it.
Yeah, like an example might be the client party. Like a client party might not be something that I'm going to do, because I'm not a people person. And you're in sales. How does that work? That's another topic. But I didn't mean that I don't like people. It just means that I'd have to take my wife, because she would just love to be with meeting everybody, and me, that's just not the way I am. But anyway, I need to find something else to do. But the one thing, the handwritten notes, if you send a note to somebody, how many people appreciate a handwritten note? When was the last time you got a handwritten address in your email, or in your mail, not your email, in your regular mail? It's something that really speaks out to people. But
yeah, it's a lot of work too. If you got a lot of people,
you think, okay, I can write a couple notes every day. Well, it's not as easy as it sounds. So, but anyway, I challenge anybody. Here's a challenge. You want to stay in touch with your clients, buy some nice cards and write your clients a nice handwritten note saying whatever you want to say to them, and just to stay in touch and see what happens. I'll tell you a quick story before we close this off. I used to do the training, or I used to do the facilitating of the Brian Buffini course. And we had a realtor that had been in the business for quite a number of years. And she always worked for a team, so the team would supply her with the leads, and then she would go, and she was one of those, people type of persons. So she did quite well, working with the team. But then whatever happened, or for whatever reason, she ended up being on her own. So she thought, okay, if I'm on my own, then I better learn some different systems. So she decided that she was going to take the Buffini course. I think it was the Peak Producer course at that time. And so she's in the Peak Producer course, and she discovers the handwritten notes. So she starts sending handwritten notes to her clients, and it really worked for her. She had one of her clients call her up and say, "Wow, I didn't know you were still in the business. I thought you had left the business. I wish I would have known that 2 months ago, because I just bought a $2 million property and sold my other $1 million property. And unfortunately, her she was getting a very good response to the handwritten notes, and she was recognizing how valuable they were, but she also got reminded that she missed a big commission payday. So anyway, Did you
that
have
happens.
what?
It happens.
Yeah,
It's happened to me too. So
yeah, it happens. We miss out. We miss out when we're not present, and I think that's important for us to be present and to be aware of how to stay top of mind without being annoying.
yeah, it's funny, but it's true.
Yeah, yeah.
So
Well, I want to thank you, Greg. Did you have anything else you wanted to add, or
no, I think we pretty well laid it out this time. So I'm good.
that's
Thank
great?
you.
Yep. Thank you, everybody, for listening. And as always, if you have any questions, be sure to drop us a comment or a line. You can get Greg at gregdemarco.com, or you can call me at dongoertz.com. So take care, and we'll see you next time.
See ya.